Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Rishi. I'm here to speak about the integrations between GenAI and Web3. Many of you probably know how active Google is in the AI space. Some of you may not know how active we are in the Web3 space. We've been involved in Web3 since 2017, primarily at the infrastructure layer, and have made a really big push over the last 3-4 years. Let's start on the AI side. So where exactly are we on this AI journey? We have essentially entered the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So this era is largely defined as the intuitive interaction between humans and technology. It's a multimodal experience, right? So you have to remember it's text, audio, video, images, and so forth. And if it isn't already clear, GenAI is going to have an impact on every single industry. The rate at which this technology is diffusing into industries outside of software alone is entirely unprecedented. We have seen this with the widespread adoption of consumer-facing applications. So AI is poised to become the operating system for information moving into the future. And it's important to note that these technologies can be quite expensive. So people need to focus on solutions that reduce costs or increase revenue. As we enter this industrial revolution, we have to remind ourselves the market is still very unclear, it's ill-defined, and it's still quite new. So no real consolidation has taken place. What we are seeing is companies have a little bit of FOMO, and I think that's okay because then it gives you a foot in the door. But people need to be careful as they spend time and money into an area that can have big business impact in a very experimental way. The reality is the conversational interface is coming. There's no doubt about that. In the early 90s, we had the GUI, then the web showed up and moved on to HTML, and then there was the mobile revolution. There's zero question that the conversational interface will exist on every single product. The conversational interface is the new user interface going forward. So there's really two types of AI that have come to the public, right? There's consumer and there's enterprise. The consumer products, such as Gemini, it's really like Google search on steroids. You can ask it to help me plan a 3-day trip to Ho Chi Minh City with my 2-year-old daughter, and you will get more precise and generative results, and that's great for consumers. Enterprises, however, have a completely different set of requirements. They are concerned with how to control access to the data they own. So if you think about it, enterprise AI technology really gives you that control of your data. I would say there's really 4 main concerns for an enterprise when you think about this. The first is information access. You don't want organizations to know what data your large language models are being trained on. You don't want other organizations to have access to that data, and you don't want other organizations to know about the output. So that end-to-end sovereignty is extremely important. The input, the trainings, the output, everything needs to be secured. The second is around data control. The other thing that is really important to know is how you control that data. Most Web3 companies have first-party data, second-party data, and third-party data, and so forth. So it's not all your data. Organizations need to think about how to control the data that goes into these models. Third is fraud and security. Always important, but a whole generation of technology providers are now going to start red teaming these models. Fraud and security is extremely important in all industries, and especially in Web3. As we're starting to get more and more regulated, we need to prove how we get to these answers. And then lastly, integration. You want to be able to integrate existing data. It needs to be easy to integrate into existing environments without having to build net new connections. So look, the reality is no one knows exactly where all this is going. But what we can do is look at what is being built at places like Google with our Web3 companies. So with our Web3 customers. So there are four areas that we see trending with our Web3 customers. AI is really good at making a huge amount of data searchable and summarized. So to bring insights and trends in a time-saving manner, really improving that time to value. Then when humans interact with the machine, it's starting to get more and more intuitive and smooth by using natural language. So it becomes really hard, if not impossible, to detect a human from AI nowadays. And we're seeing a lot around this around customer service, really improving that customer service experience. The third is around content generation. Again, multimodal, so we're talking about text, video, code, so forth. AI can really maximize productivity here. So if you're a coder, you can have a simple quick start. If you're a designer, you can have some samples created. So we're looking at maximizing employee productivity. And then the last one, it's a bit more complex and maybe on a longer term horizon, is AI practitioners. So taking models, integrating them with the company's data, fine-tuning them, and so forth. When looking specifically at Web3, in 2017, what Google Cloud did is we worked with the community to democratize blockchain data via our BigQuery datasets. This has now evolved, and we have blockchain analytics. So indexed blockchain data made available through BigQuery. This offers you access to reliable data without the overhead of operating a node or maintaining an indexer. You can now query the full history of blocks, transactions, and logs. By providing these data sets in BigQuery, you can essentially access blockchain data as your own internal data. Now combine that with AI, and it opens up new horizons for on-chain analytics. Imagine AI models being used on this. It could really reveal market trends, potential emerging opportunities, or even flag risks. Let's explore how we could potentially navigate some of the AI challenges that we have with Web3 technology. So one challenge is data ownership. Web3 really, what the technology really does is place that data ownership in the hand of individuals. On the AI side, you need a lot of data for the training, and it shares data privacy concerns. It's always a common thing, but Web3 zero-knowledge protocols could potentially provide this solution by allowing the data to be anonymized as well as securely shared. The second is on deepfakes. Digital signatures in Web3 are very secure and tamper-proof, typically used to verify transactions on DeFi protocols or ownership of NFTs, for example. Digital signatures could also be used potentially to flag out deepfakes and disinformation. The third is biases in AI. Smart contracts are immutable. It's easy to browse the entire history and audit this. We can use blockchain technology to systematically eliminate biases present in AI models, allow users to trace the origin of the bias, and then confirm it all on-chain. The last one is a school of thought that advocates around decentralizing the machine learning compute stack with Web3 infrastructure. However, this cost and scalability could be potential barriers here. Now let's look at how AI could be utilized within Web3, keeping in mind some of the opportunities that I talked about earlier that we see mentioned with our Web3 customers. So we could create services that can offer personalized customer engagement. We could potentially offer synthesized market research. We can also use it to prevent scams, analyze smart contract vulnerabilities. We've seen it be used to find the best time to send transactions for low gas fees. We can also see it being used to give customer recommendations based on a transaction's user data as well as what's going on in the market. On the support side, for the customer support side, is super straightforward. We've seen automated bots to help users. It's a wide use case, to be honest, we're seeing across all industries, especially in Web3. Imagine having a centralized exchange, recover all the information that you needed to refund you a transaction that you made by mistake. Lastly, probably around content creation, we've all seen AI-generated NFTs grow rapidly. Another example of content creation is we're seeing firms use AI to create smart contract templates or other kinds of code. For all these use cases, fine-tuning the models based on blockchain data or smart contract data will give you much better results. And that's why the ability to have adapter layers to test different models and fine-tune them is really important. So let's look at a few of these use cases. And the first one we'll look at is personalized crypto recommendations. So in any industry, in any service industry, customer relationship is all about trust. Today, most exchanges have to make product recommendations based on really broad customer segmentation. And that's because they don't have the tools to necessarily go and give you hyper-individualized or contextualized recommendations at scale. And this leads to pretty ineffective marketing and a not great customer experience. So with GenAI, what we've seen is exchanges can help cross-sell and retain strategies, improve their cross-sell and retain strategies by having one-to-one instead of one-to-many messaging. So it can really tailor product recommendations via conversational language and provide customers with something that's a little bit more based on their behavior and spending patterns. So imagine today as an example, you'd get, instead of a one-off generic message, you'd get a product-centric message. So an example could be, based on your investing in the last few weeks, we've seen that you're starting to explore exotic products. Here's a structured product that we recently launched. Give it a try, commission-free for a month. On the next side, for any crypto fund, obviously having an investment strategy that beats the market and beats your competitors and outperforms is a competitive and the main goal. Is a competitive advantage and the main goal. But the research needed to get there is super manual and really time-consuming. That process can lead to long hours and a lot of slow time to insights. So generative AI can really act as a research assistant for analysts here. Sift through millions of data points quickly, intelligently, and summarize that key information. For example, today you might have an analyst perform research by sending keywords and reading insane amounts of information. With GenAI, what we've seen people do is they would have intelligent summaries created for them with the relevant documents populated, helping the analysts focus on time on the most important ones. It could also help analysts explore the impact of events more by allowing them to become more productive. On the retail trading side, the challenge is that customer queries are super costly to serve and often frustrating experience. So what we've seen over here is routine questions into the back office require a ton of back and forth between the client and usually bots. Generative AI can put this and answer these common questions such as onboarding, education about a product, account balances, and so forth in a far more conversational way, and then pass the chat to the human if needed. And this allows for more strategic customer interactions. As you're likely aware, documentation is everywhere in all industries, including crypto. When you have trading, underwriting, lending, claims, regulatory processes, employees have to sift through all this and manually extract information. So what GenAI we've done and seen use over here is identify a relevant document set, summarize it, and more importantly, explain its relationship to other documents. And this hugely increases inefficiencies in processing documents, accuracy, and even could potentially help flag potential risks. And then lastly, let's look on the regulation side. Currently, what happens is product and developer teams must translate changes in regulation into code and then implement that code at scale. It's a really challenging process. This guidance alone from regulatories sometimes can be quite complex. So what developers need to do is go to subject experts to translate that guidance, then understand what code actually needs to be implemented. It's not easy also to modify existing systems to meet these new requirements, especially while trying to maintain security, compliance, and generally tight deadlines. So what GenAI has done over here, what we've seen is use it to help developers understand the underlying regulatory change needed. That gives developers the context they need to make changes. Then we can use it to automate code changes, help cross-check it against code repository, and then even provide documentation. And within Web3, continuously evolving in the regulation side, we can see this use case growing a lot. There we go. I'll end with this. Every company is at a different stage, and it's important to recognize the stage that you are in. Some companies are ready to embark the AI journey now, while some need some foundational work, some exploration that will help them pick a seamless strategy, adapt, and implement the solutions. Companies have to really find the right use case, evaluate the business needs, and figure out where it makes sense to implement GenAI. From there, you pick a deployment strategy, test, and scale. It's important not to run into these headfirst. Every company has a different path, and it takes time to really understand where GenAI could be useful for your business needs. That's all for us. Thank you very much. We have a booth at A05. Please come by. We'd love to chat with you. Thank you.